Good day, everybody. This is Justin from the RC and Coffee YouTube channel and Facebook page. Please consider supporting us by hitting the notification button, of course, subscribing, and also connecting with us on Facebook. Once again, I have my little helper, Yoko. Yoko is really used to RC cars. There's plenty in her surroundings, and I guess she'll give us her opinion on this particular chassis. Yes, that's right. Okay, so I'm particularly proud to present this chassis. This is Delta chassis from GCM Racing. GCM Racing is a Canadian company. They're located in Arnprior, which is 45 minutes from Ottawa. Chris, one of the owners, is a fantastic guy. The attention to details that this guy put into, or this company as a whole, because it's not just him, that they put into their construction is fantastic. As a matter of fact, if you take a look at this transmission here, it is one of the most robust that you can find in the industry. And it's fantastic that such a high quality product is being built close to home in Canada and has the reputation that it has. So without further ado, the Delta chassis from GCM Racing. This chassis there lends itself particularly well for Jeep construction. It's of a shorter length, and it does have adjustability, but it is of a shorter length, definitely. And if you look online, and you type GCM Racing Delta chassis JK, you'll see that it's a perfect fit for the JK hard body Jeep that you can find online. So what do we see? What are the characteristics here? So right here, you can see a flat rear, which is always fantastic. You know that when you have a flat rear, half your battle is won. The other thing that is great to look at is the location of the transmission. Most of the transmission, it is a relatively long transmission, but most of it is located at the same level or almost at the same level as the railing, which means that as you sit your body on top, the interior is not hitting the transmission, and the highest point we are assuming will clear the hood. Also, so what's interesting is that there's no shock towers at all at the back, which is reminiscent of the SU4C or SG4C configuration from Cross RC, which we have reviewed in another video. The front has very, very short shock towers. These are 50 millimeter shocks, so shorter than most. I do not know if they are oil filled. The chassis comes pre-built, pre-mounted for you in this particular shape as you buy it from GCM Racing. I'll take a look later on. I'm not sure if they are oil filled. They may be, who knows? But either way, it's definitely something that can be added, after the fact. It's not an issue. Most of the chassis is metal. There are, however, really high quality 3D printed parts. For instance, the axles are 3D printed. However, they are 3D printed to look like real axles. The only thing that I do notice that may be slightly different is the fact that they seem to be slightly thicker than a scale axle had it been made out of alloy, but really it's not an issue, and I'm sure that with the quality of plastic that they've used, those are actually as strong as their metal counterparts, and as we know, it's what's inside that matters rather than what's outside. Also, you've got these little plastic blocks here that you can shift front and back. This is the way that you can adjust the chassis, the wheelbase rather. What else? You've got relatively thin links, but again, they're not very long, so that's fine. I'm not too worried about that. And we will be diving into the specifics of this particular chassis. Definitely on the more expensive side, $175 US. However, worth every penny. To give you an idea or comparison, the BRX01 chassis is $629. But then again, let's remember that the BRX01 chassis is one that is very, very well known, that has been bought all over the world, and that is being distributed throughout big box stores. Not the case for this one. So in terms of price, that's really, really excellent. Wheelbase options, you've got three. There's an optional 9.92 wheelbase, so I'm guessing you'll need some adjustability at the rear here, and you're going to have to change the links definitely for this one. So it's really, really short. And the two options that you can implement with the chassis as it is are 10.7 and 11.2. So definitely on the shorter side, but that's what the chassis is designed for. The transmission is mounted towards the front, and there's only one gear here, but the gear ratio is known to be really, really good and be able to extract as much torque as you can from those little motors there. Shock length, 50 millimeters. The chassis thickness, 4.5. This thing is amazingly well built. There's no give whatsoever. The aftermarket support, I'm going to say 3.5, but it's not realistic. Again, GCM Racing, they have their own way of doing it. They're designed for customized rigs. So basically, almost anything fits. There's not a whole lot of companies that design specifically for them, which is why they're 3.5. But realistically speaking, you can probably put as many things on this guy as you can put on an SCX10 too. It's just that you have to look for it. Whereas Axial has manufacturers that will design things that are specific for Axial, so it's just a bit easier to find. I'm not saying that it's a better fit or that this one is harder to work on. Actually, absolutely not. Again, it's been designed for customized rigs. The skill look of the architecture, 4.5, very well designed. The skill look of the axle, I'd say 4. It is, they are slightly thicker, but, they really look like real axles. And once that, they're black. Once that rig's going to be driving, you're never going to notice anything. The skill look of the chassis, 3.5. It's not a C railing. It's a solid frame. So, or solid rail, I should say. So it's, you can tell it's been cut and designed. So not necessarily as scale as what you would have noticed on the Cross RC SG or SU series, but still very, very good. The skill look of the shocks, that's a 4 out of 5. There's nothing incredible about the shocks themselves, but the geometry is very scale. They're not crazy off-road shocks. Again, that thing is supposed to look scale, and they look scale. Scale shocks are not 80 millimeters, of course, proportionally with regards to a 1:1 scale. I'm not sure what that's gonna give, but you get my drift. The architecture, generally speaking, is that of a normal truck that you'd find, at the truck store or wherever you buy trucks. What else? Chassis customizability, 4 out of 5. That thing's been designed for that. Shock adjustability, the same. You've got a bunch of mounting holes that you can change there. And again, the rail is not super thick, so you can actually drill through them and adjust whatever needs to be adjusted. Overall, it's actually a really it rates super high. It's 4.06 out of 5 in average. Fantastic chassis. I highly recommend this. I don't know if you noticed, but the drive shafts are metal. It's just really well done. Everything fits perfectly. The transmission on its own is worth the money. And again, I'm very proud to say that this is Canadian. So Chris, if you're watching this video, thank you very much for your work. You've produced a little gem here, and we will soon be discussing about the C-Max that GCM Racing also produces. Thank you very much.